And the more I look back at it, the more I cannot believe how much of a mess I was. From my heart, I could not open my heart. I couldn't open up my spirit. I couldn't open up as a woman, as a person. And the only thing that I could do was work.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Wolf, PA and CEO of the Novus Center here in Studio City, California. And today we have one of my most favorite patients of all time, Tiffany. Tiffany is going to share her journey here at the Novus Center and how long she's been with us, why she came to us, and what you're experiencing. So I want to start off, first of all, by saying I absolutely adore you. I love you so much. I love your honesty. I love your energy. I love your strength. I love every part of you. Do not ever change that for anybody. And I wish everybody watching this could take what I said. Be who you are and be genuine to who you are, because there's only one of you. So take what you can from that and, grow that person, be that person, own that person. So you started with us in 2020. Do you know that?
Yes.
And what was it that brought you to Novus? Like, what is it that you were looking for?
I almost feel like I crawled in the doors, to be perfectly honest. I'd seen the signs for about 2 or 3 years, so there was something that was drawing me to it, and I just didn't know what. I had reached a point, actually probably 2 years, you and I have been working together about 2 years prior to that, where I had really not begun to notice who I was. I had truly, especially as somebody who thinks they know themselves, who thinks they're healthy, who thinks they don't have issues. In a sense, I eat well, I exercise. Yes, I have some of this and that. But for me to go through what I had started to go through, where I was going through fears of agoraphobia, I couldn't leave my house. I was constantly exhausted. I couldn't get out of bed. I had no desire to do anything. More than that, my entire body was off. For someone who knows their body and they know they're not feeling the same, I couldn't exercise. I literally did not know what I was doing. And I was desperate. And I looked up for one day, I drove by, I saw the Novus Center and I looked it up online. And when I saw that you had focused with hormones, I knew, because I was going through the later phases of menopause, or going into from peri into that phase, that would be a great place to start. So when I first came in, I came in and I saw you, and I will say I was a complete meltdown, hot mess.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, but because I have such a strong drive, and this was the athlete in me, it was so counterintuitive to what I knew. So I was still driving, but my body was almost like dying or falling apart. And it was this experience that, I was swelling all the time. I just was not myself. And when you one day wake up and you're like, this is just no human should be feeling like this, especially one like me. And that was the biggest, I think, down was that I had done these years of all this self-care and all of this. And to think that I was where I was hearing on the TV where most Americans are, I was like, that doesn't happen to me. And there it was. Happened to me. I couldn't leave my house. The only time I would leave is go to work. I would run home and hide at night and go to bed. So that being said, I was also an emotional, hormonal mess. And I knew it was hormones. I didn't know what to do. So we came in and we started with the hormones. And if I recall your response on my first set of results, like, I don't know how you're surviving. And that's that drive, which I think a lot of women, professional women keep up. But what happens is that drive is what also destroys. It gets us to a point, but at that point in a life, you have to start to change. And I knew it was coming. I'd been on bioidenticals, but they wasn't happening and helping enough. Needless to say, you took one look and you were like, I don't know how you're surviving. And we got me right on pellets in, what was it, 7-8 hours?
Yeah.
I was like, completely, at least from where I was already on the floor, but At least I could sit up on the floor. It's freaking nuts. And the more I look back at it, the more I cannot believe how much of a mess I was. From my heart, I could not open my heart. I couldn't open up my spirit. I couldn't open up as a woman, as a person. And the only thing that I could do was work, because I had to pay and to take care of. And it was like I'd fallen into this drive of life that was not who I was. I'd stopped going outside. I'd stopped enjoying. So with the pellets, 6-8 hours? I mean, literally, getting that program, and we gave it 6-8 months, and got myself on. I believe we did 2 rounds of blood tests to see where I was. We shifted around, and then it was from there we stepped into because being someone who's proactive, dedicated to healing, and committed to the practice of evolving, we stepped into stem cells. Yeah. I knew it could be a big step, because it's not just a step you just do once and walk away from. It's not a quick fix. It is not something that you take lightly without knowing what you're doing. So the first year of the stem cells gave me the ability to get the momentum going. And I started to almost feel like, okay, now I can start. And I had stopped exercising. And this is somebody who exercised 5-6 days a week, power yoga, triathlons. And I used to eat really well. And I have my little bad habits. I mean, we all have them. But I didn't have the energy to even begin to address those, let alone any emotional issues, spiritual issues, or midlife issues. But as the athlete in the mind, I knew, or that one committed to healing, which I'd done in the spirit before. And when I couldn't touch my heart, I knew I was in trouble. I couldn't find forgiveness anymore. I couldn't find kindness. I just was angry and wanted to survive. And I was like, what is this? So in that first year, I started to find, I wouldn't say playfulness yet, but I started to find a little bit of room for more laughter. I started to find room to play with my colleagues at work. So, and it gave me the ability to keep working. And so with that, obviously I started taking a little bit of different steps at home, because you almost have to get a little healthy to begin to start to shift things. You can't just go pulling something without a vacuum happening. The stem cells help with the vacuum, in that you put the stem cells, you take your stem cells, you get the energy, but you have to focus, that you just don't go off and think, oh, I'm okay because I took stem cells. What you have to say is, oh, I'm now on this path. I need to take a little more proactive action. Hence, we stepped into the peptides.
Yes.
And we stepped up into the amount of stem cells also, but I was going from one to the next, but I had the energy. Yeah. And I had also had these fluctuations because I hadn't finished menopause.
Right.
Or, I had just come into my last year, but I will say that last year with the pellets and the stem cells helped to keep my biorhythms and my emotional moods all at least more balanced. Yeah. But also remember, the stem cells also help me get healthy enough to see more stuff come up. Yes. It's almost like you heal to begin to unheal again. And so the stronger I got, the more the older stuff came up. So this is why this is not just a task of just stem cells. It's doing your inner work. It's doing your exercise. It's gently changing your diet. It's staying in touch with you. It's changing your, whether maybe you need more zinc now, or maybe you need more vitamin D. I was like, well, I don't like it. It doesn't work for me. So we have to find different ways. And you notice your skin changing, you notice your hair changing, your breasts, everything about it. The stem cells for me, I actually felt safer each time. And that was always the biggest thing when I would come in, because I could feel when I would be coming down. Remember, I'd be like, Stephanie, it's time. Yeah. Because my body was still so dependent on that extra energy. And that's what the stem cells do, is they help to ignite that extra energy. But it also, because it wasn't healed, hasn't begun to rebuild its own, right, which is the ultimate goal after you commit for a longer period of time, that they start to generate themselves, correct?
Yes, correct.
Which is the whole point of healing, is that the body starts to be able to. So I knew with this that I would have to commit. It was almost like I had a cancer. That I had to take out a loan or whatever. It stopped, whatever it was, to commit to this as though this was life or death. Yeah. And that if it was to truly work, not a quick fix, which I don't even use Western medication. You know that, unless I absolutely have to. And even then it doesn't work well for me. But I knew that for us to really see the benefits. Like, yes, I saw the pops, but the long-term longevity, which is learning to age with grace.
Exactly.
I want to be in my 50s, I am in my
I don't know. Again, I don't know what you're talking about.
I want to go into my 60s and 70s and 80s where we can live.
Yes.
And I'm at that point where you have to stop and readdress. In my 20s, I could get away with the same behavior. You could go out and drink the way, or you could go out and smoke, or you could go out or you could be angry and not worry about it. But nowadays, you can't hold that same stuff. And especially after menopause, when a woman literally has to, and I think that's the grace of it. That's the silver lining of this beautiful process, which I want women not to be afraid of.
Yes.
I had to change my exercise from thinking I'm going to win this to what's more gentle.
Exactly.
But the more I can do that in alignment with the work you and I did, it really, really helps. So the stem cells for me were like this foundation, the pellets, and with the hormone treatment. And you and I both know I emotionally start going like that, or I did. The stem cells helped, but because I'd always tracked myself, I knew my sort of habit energy, which is deep in the subconscious, which the stem cells were giving me the energy to finally take a look at, oh, that's not a correct habit anymore. But to change it takes time and to be aware, because you have to catch it slowly. You have to shift it. It's like that movie, What About Bob? One step. I felt like, what about Tiff? With my goldfish or my stem cells? Oh, shit. My peptides. And then we stepped into peptides.
Yeah.
Which to me were like almost dolling it up a little bit. Yeah. And what was interesting that I began, and I was doing at one time, I did 3 shows on top of each other where I had the energy, but the stem cells were working longer with the peptides. And what I noticed was that when I'd come into that, and we went from 2 months to needing refills to 3 months with my hormones to actually 4 months.
Yes.
It took us 2.5 years.
Yes.
But it was like when we had my last checkup for my testosterone, we were like, we're not ready.
Yes.
And 2 years before that, we were needing it every, 3 months?
So think about it. Your body is regenerating. So the more you do, the longer you're doing this, the more your body can actually do its job.
What I started to feel was, okay, here I am. I'm here. I knew I'm still off, but it was not this sense of I'm needing to hide anymore. And that was what was so scary. Life had become so scary. And I am, a spiritual person. I'm a trained practitioner, meditator. And for me to have fallen, but yet that's the grace because I got to see. And so but I had to gently start to change, my food. And I thought I ate well, but my sugar, you and I both saw my sugar, which again was in relation to my cortisol levels. And I think part of this process is learning about all these different things. Why am I off in my sleep? Why am I not able to do this? And being able to start to have a conversation about being your own doctor. Yeah. And then working with you as a practitioner. And one of the things I love about working with you is that we discuss. Yeah. You're always like, well, how does that feel? And remember with the peptides, I would hold them up and I'll be like, no, not today. I don't need one. Yeah. Or when we put me on the Samoralin, it was like, or it was the progesterone. You wanted me on this, but then I was like, like a child, like a baby, man. But that's the body rejecting, and I'm willing to listen. Yeah. So I'm like, Steph, it's not working for me this much. Let's go down to half a pellet. And my progesterone was perfect last time?
Exactly.
I mean, like,
it's almost like you are so in tune with your body. It's almost like what your lab looks like.
But what had happened, and again, it's all part of, I had become my own doctor, and I was away, and we had done this, and thank God for the peptides. Yeah. Because as the stem cell starts to shift, and remember, I was sucking down the peptides for a while. Right now, I'm like every other day.
You feel great.
Because I don't wake up and think I need it. Yeah. And what's interesting about this work is if you start to listen to your body, you start to know what you do and you don't need. Yes. And to me, that's when we start to become really aware, and then we become engaged in the process. Yeah. And there's a sense of happiness about life. Yeah. So I think where we've gone, and I also know we're another good year to 2 years of really the consistent program. Yeah.
Honing it in.
Yeah, honing it in. I'm also knowing, though, that I can feel the body wanting to learn to take care of herself.
Yes.
I'm working with someone on gut care. So we're getting that and finding different things. I started working with the brain now because it's like I'm strong enough to address the stuff.
Yes.
And even the personal stuff, like looking at my finances, looking at my will. It's like stuff you don't ever want to look at. But I'm finding the energy to do that. And I am a true believer in the stem cells. They are not the answer. They are part of a solution. And I don't believe there's one answer. I think there's, as you and I both know,
multiple things going into it. I think what's frustrating for me is, walking down the street or going to the mall or going to the grocery store, and I see these women who are clearly in menopause, and they literally look 10 years older than I know they are. And I'm thinking to myself,
and they're holding a super Slurpee or a super large coffee frappuccino. I'm like, dude, you are messing yourself up.
Anything to stay awake.
Yeah, that was it. I was downing the coffees.
Yes, and you're just like, there's a solution out there. I wish that you would do some research. I wish that you would put one foot in front of the other, because I'm here. I'm here for you. I want to help you, but I can't make you drink. I can only give you all the options. I can show you what's going on. But again, at the end of the day, I can't do the work for you.
You can't. And also the what's so unique about what you're doing is and what's so exciting, and where often with my male friends in my age, they're a little more willing to open, is you're outside of the box. Yeah. Because most of the time I will go and talk to a doctor. They have no idea about the peptides. Yeah. They have no idea at the level of the stem cells. And you have to become willing to take charge of your own. Yes. And find the practitioner to work with and make that commitment. It's like you don't, when you buy a new car, you take, if you want a nice new SUV, you research it, you look into it, you find the buyer. It's the same thing working with you. And not because of some HMO or I'm told to come see you. I choose to see you. Yeah. That's what I love about being here. They take care of me. It's a privately well taken care of experience as well. It's the other thing I love about Novus. I don't feel like it's a medical procedure. Yeah. When I come in, it's more like I'm going to, almost it's a spa of a different way. It's an inner spa of health and alignment. I don't believe deeply in our Western system for a lot of things. That doesn't mean there are amazing surgeons and heart surgeons and doctors who've done things for babies and all of that. But our general well care and aging, we're missing the boat. Totally. Completely missing the boat. Yeah. And the other biggest thing that had happened that you and I both have noticed was I had lost so much muscle mass. And for an athlete, and again, I'm not a pro athlete, but somebody who's 4 or 5 times a week, power yoga, triathlons, all that. And for me to have lost the amount of strength and muscle mass, which I've begun to get the energy now so I can get back in the gym to do my part of the deal, which is I got to do the heavy lifting or the extra to take the Pilates class versus, that's where the stem cells and the peptides help.
Yes. You have to have the energy.
It's
to
helping
actually do that
with the energy so that you can get through it. I also noticed, and because and I believe you and I, even though it wasn't diagnosed, is that we were dealing with an autoimmune of some sort in me. But I didn't want to go to some Western doctor and be labeled this and put into a category. Because I'm like, if we start at the root, which is kind of rebuilding, which is what you do. And what Novus does, I think for men and for women.
Yeah, exactly. It's about healing from the inside out. And that's really, that's why we're here. This is why I stay open, is because I'm truly passionate about helping people. And I just want everybody to live their best life. I say it over and over that modern medicine is keeping us alive so much longer than we used to. Think about it. Probably by the time we're there, we're going to be alive at 90 years old.
But with people who really commit to taking care of themselves, and she's not just, everybody says about the plastic, she exercises, she eats well. Yes. But no doubt they are using all kinds of from oxygen therapies to ozone therapies to stem cells to peptides. And frankly, if our Western... I think healthcare system saw this is actually cheaper in the long run.
Yes.
I am watching friends of mine, my age, 55, who look, like you said, about 10 years older, and they're being diagnosed and they're believing the diagnosis versus saying, well, How do we get in to deal with inflammation?
Yes.
How do we get into regenerating stem cells?
Yes.
How do we get into getting peptides so that the body can realign itself through its thyroids and all these different areas?
Yes. How do we actually live the next 40 years?
That's, to me, it's like in the 20s, I had no clue and I just followed. I now have control. And then you make the additional choices, but those are choices. To me, it's almost like an investment. Yeah. I'm investing in my home and in my car, in my mind. And as I watch my parents age, who are both in their 80s, and they're actually doing well for their age, but I know they could be about another 50% better had they been able to step into this.
Yeah, I agree.
It takes proactive awareness, and the gift is the universe, and God and the divine has given us that through modern science when it's used correctly.
Correct. 100%. I just wish that so many other people would just
become willing to hear about it.
Yeah. Really
it's scary. It's interesting because as I share with, and I'm very cautious now who I share with.
Yeah.
It's the other thing, because people will hear about it and people will say it's cool, but then will they commit to it?
Exactly.
And then you watch them turn around and then they go do something like, you're like, are you serious? Like,
do you want to live or do you not?
Yeah, or they'll make decisions like, oh, that's really cool. I wish I had the money to do that. And then they turn around and then they go and buy something that's just, obtuse, like a huge, massive TV or something. And I'm like, first of all, you don't need that vibrational frequency in your house. Who am I to judge? But point is, you look at where, and if you make little choices.
It's what is important.
And to me, and then if people are like, well, why do you look so good? And they're like, oh, you do all the face. And I'm like, no, I've committed to a way of life.
Yeah.
And I've made choices. I don't have all these things, so I can have that.
Right.
So, and I'm committing to this. Why? Because it's long term. Exactly. This is an investment that's going to have returns.
Exactly.
When you buy $1,000 outfit or a fabulous bag, which God only knows we all love.
Of course.
But if you're not in a place for both, and you can have the power to choose where it's like, oh, this gives me an extra month of working with peptides, you may have that extra clarity so that you can gain more and live more and earn more.
Exactly.
That's the way I'm approaching this.
I agree 100%. It's so interesting because, like you said, I'll talk to a lot of people. My mom, for instance.
Family's the worst.
My mom still to this day doesn't really understand what I do here at Novus. She just doesn't get it. And, she'll say things to me like, well, I'm not really sure that works. It's kind of like voodoo magic, and you're kind of like, I've been doing this for 20 years. So for it to be voodoo magic for 20 years and all the lives that I've changed, you know what? That's okay. I'll take that. I'll take that label because I know that I'm doing good work and I know that people are feeling good and they're living their best lives. Like I look at you, you're so vibrant and lively. I can't even imagine you coming in here and saying to me, I'm going to be retiring because I don't have the energy. I just can't work.
Although 2 years ago, remember, I'm not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you have so much left in you. I mean,
well, and here's the thing, I'm starting to experience, and that was the other thing, for the first time in years, I actually had a relationship this summer, which I had not had because I didn't have the energy to feel good enough.
Yeah.
And this is what we're talking about. And it's interesting that you brought up parents. My father's on like 17 different pills.
Yeah.
And I'm watching him age because of the way now he's in his 80s.
Right.
And God bless him. So, whatever.
Yeah.
I know if we put him on stem cells and my mother, and they're all like, oh dear, we love what you do, but they won't. It's interesting how people won't even go there.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law has MS. I know this kind of stuff would help. Now they have to make a decision. They're raising two kids. So I get that it's, you stick with your insurance and your doctors. It's a very scary thing.
Right.
But the fact is there's more and more facts coming out about this kind of
There's
stuff.
More information.
And it's more alternative. It doesn't have the dance side effects.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. The work that you and I are doing doesn't have the side effects of pills and all this kind of stuff, so that if you're helping one energy, you're damaging another.
Exactly.
It's not organic.
Exactly. It's just like, it's a synthetic, right? Your body doesn't know what to do with it.
Because it's not real.
Because it's not real.
It's not regenerative.
No.
What we're doing is tapping into the regenerative nature.
You're telling your cells how to work again. You're saying, hey, you used to do
Now,
this.
we're going to give you a little help.
Exactly.
And that's what we're doing. And it's sort of like getting you through college again or through parochial school. At that point, I was like kindergarten when I came in, and it's like, you're right, but we're retraining.
Yeah.
It's like a midlife recheck.
It is.
And I would
your
imagine
body is
for men-
incredible. Like, think of how much repair and regeneration your body does every single day. So why not give it the tools that it needs to do it better, stronger, faster,
and it even regenerates more than we realize over periods of time, hence why the commitment. And It's not a one-time thing. Yes, you'd come in probably if you're pretty normal, feels great from the stem cells, but its real effect is a long-term commitment so that it starts to operate at a whole new level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the longer you do it, the less you need, because your body learns how to do it itself. And that's the idea.
I mean, to me, that's the goal that you and we've even seen it with some of I could even see it in this last one. What was interesting though, is that we were going really well. And then I sort of had this really well, but then I fell. But what was great is that I could see the fall.
Yeah.
I understood the fall. I didn't emotionally go too far. And that's part of it. It's the psychological levels because we're having to change all of it.
Right.
And then to rebuild and to come back and I'm looking forward to actually the next round of, because I think my blood, and I made the biggest decision of my life. I took a time out from work, which I've never done because I wanted to give all what we're doing a time to really ingest while I was not stressed at 92 levels of fog.
Working 3 jobs, but anyhow.
Yeah, exactly. And I would not have had the power to make that decision or the ability to feel committed enough. Yeah. Had I not been on the stem cells and the peptides, I don't believe, because I wouldn't have had the emotional energy. I would have just kept going till probably I think I was in heart attack range, if I recall, and diabetic range.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So, I was a mess.
Yes, you were a mess.
Hot mess. Besides hormonal.
It was.
And I see now why so many people in their 50s either get divorced, have huge issues, or men don't understand what's going on with women. Oh my God, the more I look at women going through this and who don't have a clue, like you said, and why men are they just want to love their wives and they're tweaking out on them because they're a mess. They're a hot mess. The man is I'm oh my God, what I do wrong?
Where's my wife? Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be as well. And I don't know the male journey, but from, I have some great male friends around my age, and knowing the changes they're going through, especially. And for men, it's very, this sense of strength and all of this change and their ability to perform, at a certain level. And that was the other thing. My sexual energy started to get all, all frisky again.
Spicy.
I'm like, oh.
Tasty.
No, I'm just looking on the menu. I have not been shopping.
That's so great, and something I've actually noticed in you is from the time I first started seeing you till now, you've stepped up quite a bit.
Really?
Meaning, you've found this inner voice to make decisions.
Yes.
To make really hard decisions.
This is what I'm talking about with work. Yeah.
Exactly. Not only with work, but relationships, with family, with friends.
You're right. I put down boundaries, put everybody on a timeout.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Because I didn't know who I was without, you're right, actually. And and this is the gift again, working with you and the Novus. I just don't come in and go out. You sit with me for an hour. Yeah. Whether we cry together, we talk together while my body's sucking in still, the stem cells. But and again, the other thing from the staff to everyone. Yeah. But that's exactly true. It's finding the strength that I lost. Yeah. And I didn't know who I was. Yeah. Not that we're there yet, because there's still some more things to work through. Yeah. And now I'm ready to actually work on a psychological level, because it's not related to these bio ups and downs or the hair trigger hormones anymore. Exactly. It's I can do some real work. Yeah. I can go in and do some real healing at another level. Yeah. Hence the commitment to go even longer and further.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I saw this woman for the
Thank you
first
for that,
time.
Stephanie.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I had this woman come in yesterday, Friday, and she was brand new to the practice. And she started telling her story about just her relationship and how poorly she felt about herself, and she had no self-confidence, and she just felt, ugly and fat and unattractive and like all these things. And I said to her, what is it that you want? Like, if you could have anything in the world, what would it look like? Who would you be? And she said, she's like, I would leave my husband and I would have confidence.
Wow, she came right out and said that?
Yes.
Holy cow.
And you know what I said to her? I go,
hang tight.
if you're coming to work with me, I want you to be honest and true with yourself. Do you really mean that?
Yeah.
Because the minute you step foot in this door and you actually start working with me, your life is going to change.
It's absolutely true. I never thought I would literally turn down. I walked off a job this year, that affords me to come see you, but I was like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And you're right. I had the strength. Why? Because I was not being treated correctly.
Yeah.
And I found the strength, and I could do it without dramatics.
Yeah.
Just, no, this is not correct. And it was very clear. Good for her.
Yeah.
And what did she say?
She was like, I'm ready.
I'm committed.
And I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah. and what's exciting is that you and obviously, the team and everybody, they ride with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. David calls me and checks in with me. I mean, it's just really wonderful, and working with everybody. It's just really nice.
Good. Oh, I just love it so
much. I do too.
Yes.
It literally is. Well, and as I've been starting to work in different areas, I'm like, Novus is my foundational center.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
I wish I could do it for everyone.
That you found us.
I am too.
Yeah, and I look forward to.
And I truly, I'm excited for more people who are ready and willing, but they've got to want to commit to a change of life. Because if you half-ass it, might as well just go have a scotch and a cigarette.
Call it a day
and have some sex and be done. If you can get it up or whatever. It's like, because it's like,
if you're ready for a change.
You're no joke.
Yeah.
This is no joke.
Yeah.
This really can. And what's nice is this is what the movie stars are doing.
Yeah.
So if you want to get into that realm,
and
if that's important to you, and if the aesthetic part of it and the beauty part of it, which we haven't even discussed, and the youth part of it, but this is what people with big money are doing.
Yeah.
And you're making it so that people like me can reach out and be a part of that world.
Yeah.
And it's actually there. The divine created these things called stem cells, and these beautiful, this coming from the placenta, and that, and these different things. We're learning to use them now in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. Regenerate.
Not as a Band-Aid.
No.
But as a growing. It's
Regenerate.
like fertilizer. Yeah.
Exactly. Change and grow. Oh, yay. So everybody has heard about stem cells, but not anyone has heard about exosomes. So, what is an exosome to you? If you were to explain it to just some, lay person on the street, how would you
non-scientifically?
Describe it? Yeah.
That's a tough one because it is, and I will say that's one of my, one of the points of where I'm very cautious of who I share with, because they have to be even open-minded. Yeah. But exosomes, in my understanding, is part of the nutrients from the placenta of a newborn child. And to me, I don't even need to go much further than that to know, because that's the nurturing from the womb of the mother. Yeah. A human being grows around stem cells.
Yes.
So to me, it was like, duh. Like it really was. Remember, it was not a tough sell for me. Yeah. The second, and I started doing, you sent me the packet, because it's like a 35-page packet, and I did, and I looked. The biggest thing is what it did for burns, the burn victims, which to me is regrowth. Like somebody who's injured, you can use oxygen, you can use other things, you could have surgeries. But when I saw in the packet that you gave me the burn victims and their recovery, that's when I was like, oh, it really is regenerative. Yeah. And then I was like, that's what I'm after. Because I have literally either burned out or destroyed internally my entire biorhythm. And if I'm going to rebirth the inside of my consciousness or my body from my organs to my hormone system, which was probably completely depleted, to anything. To me, the stem cells or exosomes, which are, and there are variations, aren't there? So again, it gets very scientific and complicated, but it doesn't have to be.
No.
When you think of a placenta of a child, and it's the one thing that comes out when a mother gives birth, that's the food chain.
Yes.
It's really not that difficult.
Yeah.
After you realize that those are, and again, you want to check to make sure no child's being hurt,
Right.
and they're handling things correctly, which is what I looked into, and all of that, and how are they getting it, and all of that. But when you realize an exosomes are the nutrients from the placenta of a child,
Yes.
and that's what God gave us, like we didn't create that stuff.
Yeah.
Then for me, it was a 1 + 1 does equal 2. I was going from 1 to 1 = 9, but that's because I wasn't feeling well. It's because of the inflammation in my brain from the brain fog. And so for the exosomes for that, and what's interesting, if you remember, or with me, is when we would do it, it would literally, you wouldn't even push.
Yes, it was like
the exosomes would just pull, and
Yeah.
it was as though my body, and I could feel when you're walking near them, I could feel the healthiness.
Yeah.
People who do muscle testing, which is the kind of person who might be interested in this because they're more educated to all of that. And that's more of an alternative approach, allowing to figure out, does this work for me? Does it not work for me? And allowing your muscles. And for me, when I do the exosomes, I actually feel safer as a human being.
Yeah.
Not that exosomes are the answer to safety, because that's a consciousness thing, but I felt my nervous system. Do you remember how calm I am after I do exosomes?
It's incredible.
It's like I go,
you'll come in and you're talking just like we're talking right now. And, we're talking
I'll be a little afraid because I'm 4 months out. I haven't had my peptides or whatever. And
I start administering the IV, and you immediately start to calm down and relax, and you start laying.
Literally. And I can feel
it. And I can
it.
see it. I can see it in you, and it's incredible. Because for me, when I'm thinking about exosomes, because obviously I get them too. So I'll have my exosomes once a quarter. And I can physically see it going inside of my body and just regenerating all my cells.
My cells jump in joy. Remember, I'm always telling you, oh, my body's so happy. And that's why I can calm.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, yay. It's like milk coming in. It's a different form of a milk. An exosome to me is the nurturing milk going in. It's just this natural thing of saying, oh, yes, we need a little regeneration.
Yeah.
Wow.
We don't need to stress anymore.
No.
We don't have to have all this fire inside of us. We can quiet it down and start to
and
regenerate.
And we can address it.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that is so true. And normally I can, the second, because we do first thing that goes in is the saline.
Yes.
To help keep the flow.
Yes.
And that normally goes in, but there's a different feeling the second, and I can always feel it come right into my body. And you're right, we'll be talking, I'll just be like, But what was interesting, and again, this is the longevity of it after doing it. In this last one, I didn't quite, what I found was, and this is what we're after, it wasn't such a high, which is not what you want. You don't want to go do something so you're getting a high to it, so you're attached to the high. It was more like, oh. Oh yeah, we're back to where I should have. I fell off the boat because I'd fallen off the boat.
Yep.
And it didn't. And what was amazing was the second I started getting this last round of stem cell of the exosomes.
Yeah.
I didn't need all. I was sucking down those peptides.
Yeah.
Because that was compensating for the energy because the body hadn't clarified.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
To me, Novus is the epitome of a home that cares for who you are. I mean, I have access to you. I have access to your staff. When I've traveled and I've needed things, they've made accommodations. I come in, I feel like I'm taken care of. It's the way, to me, health care should be. I don't feel like I'm in a medical facility, other than the white jacket, which I'm still surprised you wear. I'm like, we gotta change that color up. I'm like, get out of the white. Cute, all in a little white jacket. I'm like, dude, what are you doing in that white jacket? You are a nurse. I'm a nurse practitioner, by the way. But it doesn't feel like that, and yet that's what you're getting. Yeah. And I truly believe this is what also helps. You don't come in with this smell like you do in a doctor's office or this experience. Every time I go, I won't even go. I haven't been to a Western doctor. I've been using you. My staff. It's like, no, I don't do OBGYN, Tim. You gotta get down the street. But to me, this is how healthcare, and again, why I'd rather pay. It's like using American Express versus I'd rather pay more to get what I need to be taken care of. Yeah. And that's what I get from you and your staff and everyone, and your willingness to help with the finances and how we work with it, everything. Aww. And the follow-up calls and texts, which I could not believe I got.
That just melts my heart. I appreciate that.
If anybody could touch what I've been able to experience with you all, and be able to have the opportunity to make the decision to do it, I don't know where I would be without you guys. No, really, in the work that we have done. You have been my rock. You personally, as a friend, as a practitioner, as a guide. I can't even, And for the right people, I know this will be the right place because it's just the right fit, and then it'll proliferate from there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all the work that you do, Stephanie.
I love you.
And your team.